We're seeing mixed trading for the major stock averages on this Wednesday. We got oil inventory figures and we got a drawdown, but we're also seeing the U.S. currency steady in midweek trade. So joining me to weigh in on earnings as well as geopolitics is Tim Anderson of TJM Investments. Tim, great to have you here today.
It's nice to talk to you.
Well, here we are in midweek trade. We're coming back from a holiday weekend, and we're starting to see the earnings roll in. Today's bank earnings did come in above expectations, but we saw Goldman lower yesterday after their surprise miss. So what do you make of the season so far?
Right, and you've had a number of one-offs, and today, of course, it's IBM, and that's contributing to a little underperformance from the Dow, as Goldman had the Dow about an $80 decline in the Dow yesterday. Now, we'll just have to see if this is a trend that carries through into tech. I think most people feel that this is probably just IBM specific. And in fact, the NASDAQ is having a pretty good day today. After the NASDAQ made a new high a few weeks ago, it traded off about 2%. And now it's really less than 0.5% from another all-time high. So that tech weakness from IBM isn't really filtering over into a lot of other technology stocks. We've got a number of other high-profile earnings coming this week, and I think the market was pretty much in the mode of treating them all as a one-off.
When we look at the stock averages here in the U.S., the bigger picture question is whether or not Trump will see through with his fiscal reforms and his campaign promises. But also geopolitics have been figuring into the overall equation. So how do you factor that in, especially ahead of today's Fed speech book?
Well, there's a lot of moving parts in the market. I mean, clearly the currencies were a big story yesterday, with the British pound having a big move up to the above the 125 level. I think there were probably a lot of shorts scrambling. Clearly that move was in response to the confidence that Prime Minister May was showing in calling for early elections, and that feeling is that will give her a very clear mandate, since she didn't really get into that office from a nationwide election initially. You know, on the economic front, clearly people will be looking at the Beige Book to see if there's continued strength in the economy, and then people are maybe backing off the likelihood a little bit of a rate hike in June.
And of course, when we talk about the economy, everybody is looking out for growth. Yesterday, the IMF upped its growth forecast for the world, but at the same time, they did warn about fiscal stimulus because of what they're seeing in terms of fundamentals for corporate credit. But do you lend any credence to those statements?
You know, I think a lot of people, not too many people really take the IMF's GDP estimates with a tremendous amount of influence. I think that they're pretty much like a follower rather than a leader on those projections. And I think that, you know, clearly the market is going to be heavily focused when the House comes back from recess as to whether or not you can get the health care bill through that didn't go through a few weeks ago, and then how closely after that will a tax cut plan come to the table.
Okay, Tim, well, thank you so much for driving that point home, and thank you for your insight as always.
Sure. It's nice talking to you.